All right, exciting in the morning once again to everyone who joined us on today's edition of the program. Scoreboard in 15, right on 32 FM 94.9. Check our time. It is at 13 minutes before the hour of 8 on the AM side. And of course, you are welcome to the big brown roof city of Ibadan. You are listening to the voice of 𝐿 and SAMIES. So good on the program this lovely morning. Well, of course, we had interesting updates from the world of sports over the last 12 hours. Well, in Nigeria, there is a big one, and we have a new head coach. Remember, myself and Peter, we were here yesterday discussing about who can succeed. Jose Peseiro asked the new head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But there is a new name. A new sheriff is in town for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. You get to know his name. You get to know his pedigree. Well, we talk about African football. Well, he was at the last edition of the African Cup of Nations, but with a different national team. And then you know about that on today's edition of the program. Also, yesterday there in England, Arsenal Football Club, they lost by 2-0 to the hands of Newcastle in the first leg of the EFL Cup, also known as the Carabao Cup, by 2-0. While Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak, these two players were the ones that scored against Tottenham Hotspur over the course of the weekend, and then they scored against Arsenal Football Club. You just know that they know the drill, playing against North London sides. Well, of course, later today also we have another game, talking about another semi-final encounter between Tottenham Hotspur and Liverpool Football Club. That's the first leg for that encounter. Also later today. Well, for Vinicius Jr., there is a new update concerning him. Also, we talk about the interesting world of tennis, where, of course, Nick Kyrgios, the Australian, he has suffered another setback just the days before the Australian Open. Novak Djokovic is in the news. Iga Swiatek is in the news. Aryna Sabalenka is also in the news. So we'll discuss about all of this on today's edition of the program, Scoreboard at 15, right here on 32 FM. And you're listening to the voice of 𝐿 and SAMIES. So get on the program this lovely morning. All right, let's start straight from the home scene, where we talk about the Super Eagles of Nigeria, where the Nigeria Football Federation, through the National Sports Commission, they have appointed a former Mali boss, 𝐿𝐸𝐿, as the new country's head coach, with the Super Eagles struggling in their bid to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Remember, yesterday also we discussed about match day 5 and 6 is set to go down. That's in the month of March. We are going to be playing against Rwanda and also against Zimbabwe. That's in match day 5 and 6 respectively for the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup qualifiers. And then we talk about 𝐿𝐸𝐿 now, who is the new sheriff in charge of the Super Eagles. How is he going to steady the ship within the fold of the three-time African champions? Quickly, let's take a look at his pedigree, what he achieved with the Malians. Well, from 2022 to 2024, well, that's 2 years in charge. 𝐿𝐸𝐿, he played 21 games for the Malians, and then 43 goals were scored under his leadership, 13 games won, 5 draws, and of course 3 defeats in his guidance. Talking about the games in which 𝐿𝐸𝐿 was in charge with the Malian national team. And at this point in time, the 47-year-old, he led Mali to the quarterfinals of last year's African Cup of Nations, losing 2-1 to the host and eventual winners, Ivory Coast. That's 2-1 after extra time. Well, of course, as a player also, you can tell that maybe it is a good one. But hopefully before the end of today, we'll get a reaction and also the first words of 𝐿𝐸𝐿 as the new head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But the Nigeria Football Federation, the Super Eagles, as well as the National Sports Commission, they have welcomed 𝐿𝐸𝐿 as the new head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And the primary assignment for him is to take Nigeria to the 2026 FIFA Men's World Cup. All right, moving away from that, before we talk about European football stories, we'll talk about tennis stories at this point in time for Jessica Pegula. She is in the news this morning. I told you that for Jessica Pegula, she launched the season in style, and Emma Navarro also won in Melbourne tune-up just to the Australian Open. And of course, Sen Qinwen, this woman who definitely had the 2024 to remember. And of course, she said that she wants to emulate Lee's Australian Open success. Sang ended up crushed by nemesis Aryna Sabalenka in the decider, but this year we open to go one better and join Lee as the second Chinese player to win a Grand Slam singles title. Well, let's see how that would be also. And then for Iga Swiatek, she said that she would be good, but of course she was bruised in her game just before the Australian Open. Well, for the man who missed most of the year 2024 through injury, I'm talking about Nick Kyrgios. He pulled out of an exhibition match with Novak Djokovic citing an abdominal strain yesterday, casting doubt on whether he will be fit for the Australian Open starting this weekend. The Australian made his return to tennis after 18 months last week in Brisbane following his surgery and reconstruction. But then Nick Kyrgios has a grade 1 abdominal strain. I may not be fit for the Australian Open. Well, let's see how that can be for Nick Kyrgios, the man who had, we will say, so much a prospect going into the interesting career of tennis. But then he has been marred by injuries. And of course, we talk about this one also just before we round off of the show. The Didier Deschamps, he is set to step down as France coach after the 2026 World Cup. For Didier Deschamps, remember that he won the World Cup with the Les Bleus of France in the year 2018, and he will step down from this role when his current contract ends after the 2026 World Cup. He took over from Laurent Blanc in 2012 and has taken France to 3 major finals in total, losing the Euro 2016 final to Portugal and the 2022 World Cup showpiece to Argentina. And of course, remember that he is one of the few managers who won the World Cup as a player and also as a manager, just at the age of 56. Let's see what the future would be also for Didier Deschamps. But now let's join our partners, the BBC Premier League update, to take a listen to what they have for us on today's edition of the program. After Arsenal Football Club lost to the hands of Newcastle yesterday in the EFL Cup first leg semi-final, the BBC Premier League update.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Shabnam Yunus-Jewell at the BBC Sports Centre. Alexander Isak scored his 14th goal in 15 games to help Newcastle beat Arsenal 2-0 in their League Cup semi-final first leg at the Emirates. Anthony Gordon doubled Newcastle's lead and was full of praise for teammate Isak.
Off the pitch and on the pitch, he's not scared to pass the ball. He's not a striker who's like super greedy and always shooting from crazy angles. He's very unselfish, does a lot of work for the team. And I mean, his best qualities is just raw ability on the ball, but I'm going to say his unselfishness.
The second leg will be played at St James's Park in a month's time. Tottenham boss Ange Postecoglou says it's great to extend Son Heung-min's contract by a year. The club have triggered an option to keep the forward until the summer of 2026.
Yeah, brilliant. He's already had an outstanding career. He's played a big role in sort of the last 10 years. Made an impact at the club, made an impact in the Premier League. Great to extend his stay, and the kind of aim and the ambition is to make sure he finishes his Tottenham career with some silverware.
Spurs play Liverpool in their League Cup semi-final first leg on Wednesday night. Postecoglou's also confirmed that new goalkeeper Antonin Kinski is eligible to play, having only arrived at the club on Sunday. Meanwhile, Liverpool manager Arne Slot says it's important his team, who are top of the Premier League, are not distracted by speculation. There's been plenty of talk around their 3 star players out of contract in the summer: Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah.
Every second of the day people talk about us, so it already takes a lot of my time to prepare the next game and to look back at the game we just played. If I have to do this as well, then I need, just as him, a few days off once in a while as well.
And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
All right, there you had it, the BBC Premier League update for that big game also set to go down later tonight. Merseyside side against that's in North London side. Moving away from England now to Spain. Real Madrid winger Vinicius Junior, he has been banned for 2 La Liga matches after his red card last week against Valencia. The Brazilian winger shoved the goalkeeper Stolicki in the back of the neck after he had been pushed by the Los Che stopper. And Spanish champions Real Madrid came from behind to defeat Valencia in that encounter 2-1 on Friday night in what was their only rescheduled game for the La Liga campaign. And Vinicius Junior will miss the upcoming league games against Las Palmas and Real Valladolid, but he was eligible to play in the Spanish Super Cup in Saudi Arabia with Real Madrid facing Mallorca. That's later tomorrow. That's in the semi-finals. Well, all right, we move away from that. Also, Real Madrid's president Florentino Perez, well, he has set in motion the process for club elections in which he is expected to run unopposed. Well, I think that's the bit we have on today's edition of the program. We'll go and come back later in the afternoon when we'll come with Scoreboard Reloaded. That's Scoreboard in 30 to discuss about sporting stories. Reactions from that 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐿 being named the new Super Eagles head coach. What are your expectations of 𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐿, the 42-year-old man? Well, we'll come later in the afternoon to discuss about all of that and also the reaction from the game that went down yesterday at the Emirates Stadium. Here, Arsenal Football Club, they lost by 2-0 to the hands of Newcastle. Their chances of getting into the finals of the Carabao Cup there at the Wembley Stadium is up in their hands. And thank you so much to everyone who has joined us on today's edition of the program. Till we meet again by 3:30. I am SAMIES, your sports captain. Do enjoy the rest of the day and bye for now.